Great to see you, Kyle. We have to talk about the World Cup first. How was it? How did you look back
it was
on it?
A fantastic experience. I think what we've done for English football, people falling back in love with the England team, I think it's been great, but we need to build on that now. I think we've got a good foundation that we're building on, and hopefully we can go and achieve big things.
Does it feel different? Are people treating you differently since the World Cup?
Compared to the Euros, completely different.
We can walk around our city.
Yeah, so compared to that, it's been good. But listen, it's been a lot of hard work, and I think even Gaz is a big part of that. With putting the players together and getting the philosophy back into it's like club football, which is great now. Everyone joins in with everyone, and there's no groups.
So why did you cut your holiday short?
To win the Community Shield, and it paid off. For me, I just want to play football. It's probably a cliche where people think he's just saying that, but for me, I'm happiest when I'm on the football pitch. Obviously, I love my time with my family and stuff, but it's a short career. I haven't won too much, in the recent years, so to pick up another bit of silverware it's fantastic for me personally.
I mean, we both obviously went to tournaments and then usually got sort of 3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks. How long have you had off? You must have only had, I couldn't believe it, you were playing on Sunday in the Charity Shield.
Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks, yeah. But for me, it's kind of like, I had the option if I wanted to come back a little bit later, I could do, but
that old optional one.
Yeah. It's not really an option.
If you want to come back a bit later, you can.
It's not really an option, but I wanted to be involved. I feel that I left Manchester City, at the end of the season in a good place, and we've kind of just picked back up from where we left off.
Looking at or talking about going back to the summer and the setup around the three at the back at Southgate played, you played something slightly different, and people were surprised by you going to that position. And you actually mentioned before the tournament it wasn't your ideal position, or it wasn't exactly where you wanted to play. How did you find playing there in the summer, and how do you think it went?
Saying I've only played 2 games there before the World Cup, and to go to a major tournament like the World Cup and play in a position that you're not very comfortable with, I thought I did, personally okay. Obviously, like you just said, I'd love to play at right back. Probably guys can say.
Would you preferred wing back than?
Yeah, of course. To prove you're up there with one of the best in the world in your position is what you want to do at the World Cup stage. But I feel that how we set up, and a big part of getting so far was our set plays, and Trips' delivery is second to none.
We've got a little bit of advice here, like when you get into like 33, 34. You don't want to be out here against the winger. Start to play there a bit earlier in your career. Learn how to play it, and honestly, you'll pay off in dividends at the end of your career. In terms of some, I was watching you a lot in terms of the last season. We both were, and we always think of you doing that. We always think of you flying forward here. What intrigued us, I think, last season was sort of the way in which you sort of pushed inside a little bit more.
Yeah, as I've been saying to you, the gaffer is big on, not getting overloaded in the midfield.
I tell you what, let me stop you short, because we've got an empty pitch here, Kyle.
Oh, come on.
Come with us. Come on, we can actually walk us through.
Have you warmed up? I've seen you do your calf last time.
I never thought I'd be coaching you again, that's for sure.
Right, so what do you want to...
I'll go
Kyle comes with me.
Yeah.
Over here. So, if Carra's a centre-back, you're Fernandinho in midfield.
Probably, Fernandinho,
normally, you'd always... My position would be, and you obviously, historically, you'd always play as wide as you can on the touchline, and you'd be here. But picking up the ball from Manchester City last season, you tended to be sort of like in quite a close position to your centre. What's the thinking behind that?
The gaffer doesn't like more than 3 metre passes. He likes to keep it short, just so you attract players. You might see in games that we just do, like, it's not pointless passes, but you might see us just going back and forward.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you bring people, and then that creates holes for the dangerous players that we've got, like Kevin and Raheem or Leroy and something on the other side. But where you're talking about me tucking in, it's kind of like when it's coming from the left hand side.
Yeah.
And then I'll try and step in alongside Dino to try and, kind of give him a little help and a little bit of a bounce pass. So if it does go forward, you can set the ball and we can get out to, the danger men that caused, a lot of teams' problem last season in Leroy Raheem.
But when Pep Guardiola came here, we always have this idea, don't we, of the flying fullbacks at Barcelona, and now you coming inside. What is the reason for yourself, Fabian Delph at different times, both sometimes coming in at the same time? Certainly when the ball had gone to the front three, was that to stop a counter-attack?
Yeah, he always wants, obviously, you know, when we played against Liverpool, you know, they're dangerous on the counter-attack. They're probably more dangerous when they haven't got the ball, you know, with the speed that they've got and everything like that. So, you know, when the ball's upfield, you know, his main concentration for us as fullbacks is concentrate on your winger and make sure he can't pick up the ball and start turning and running at us. But I feel as well, with us coming inside, you know, it's not natural these days for wingers to play a left footer to play on the left wing. You normally get a right foot on the left wing so he can cut inside, where we've got right footers and left footers on, you know, their preferred wings. So you kind of, when you're running around the outside, you're killing their space a little bit. So if you can support from behind, and normally I found last season I was doing a lot of underlaps rather than overlaps to, you know, give them a little bit of option.
You've worked now, obviously, the last 4 or 5 seasons with Maurizio Pochettino and Pep Guardiola. What are the differences in terms of two great coaches, but what are the differences in terms of how both work? As for a fullback, I mean, I'm talking about in terms of specifically your changes that you have made to you.
It's difficult, you know. They're both first class, and I feel at Tottenham, I was a wing back, and I had licence to go up and down and bomb forward and whatnot. But I feel that last season, especially, my football knowledge improved, and I said this in interviews before I went to the World Cup. You know, put me there when I was at Tottenham, I probably wouldn't been able to do that position what I played with England. But experiencing and going through, you know, what I went through at Manchester City, and, you know, doing the little short passes and playing with John and looking at John. For me, John can be whatever he wants, you know, with his confidence on the ball and stuff. If he sorts his head out, and he won't mind me saying that, with, you know, not doubting himself so much and not letting other things affect him, he can go right to the top. And I feel with playing alongside him at England, he helped me massively, and it helped my game as well coming into this season.
You're talking about learning from Pep Guardiola and the different things we've saw this season of you going into midfield. Do you think going forward there could be even more things? We saw at Barcelona, Pep Guardiola changed systems at different times a lot more. Do you think there could be the next step for Man City in terms of your learning as players and becoming a better team?
I think there has to be, because, you know, teams are trying to catch us up now. We did so well last season, broke so many records and stuff like that, but, you know, other teams have to adapt to us, so we need to try and, you know, bring a little bit of surprise to them, but not change it too much, because I feel how we played football last season, it was like a computer game, you know, when you go back and watch Match of the Day or something like that, and you're watching
Sky
it.
Sports.
Monday Night Football. Yeah. When you go watch Sky Sports Monday Night Football, when you watch Monday Night Football, it's, you know, it's fantastic to watch and think, oh, well, you know, it looked easy. It looked easy. I can assure you on the field it's not. You know, there's a lot of running, a lot of hard work put into it, you know, on the training field. But, you know, come match game, I feel so prepared that, you know, and confident that we was going to turn teams over.
Let me shift you over here, Kyle. You're playing right of a 3.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? Because you talk about having to learn that position. What's the difference between playing there, effectively, and here, as a defender?
For me, here, I felt I had like 20 options on the ball at England. I mean, as a right back, you're kind of there, and you can't pass here.
And is that a good thing for you to have 20 options?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. You're never going to give the ball away. I think in one of the games I recorded the most passes, because for here you shouldn't really give the ball away. You should always have so many options, and you kind of get out ball is your fullback, which your centre halves do like to put you in trouble sometimes. But for it was good. It was a good learning curve for me, because the gaffer at Manchester City, he hates giving the ball away, as you can see. So he emphasises so much on the simple, just a simple ball. And when you get at the right back, you want to drop a step over or take someone on and get an assist. But just playing the ball simple will get you out of a lot of trouble.
It's really interesting, because when I asked you that question, I asked you about different defending in those positions, and immediately your mindset is to talk about when you've got the ball offensively. I don't know if that's a consequence of playing for Tottenham and Manchester City, perhaps. But in terms of the actual defending, if a cross is coming from this side, say, you're here or here, does that make any difference? In terms of your mindset and the way you think about the game?
Well, if you're playing in a 3 kind of thing and your full-back's gone out, you're still virtually a back 4.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really change much. You have to open your shoulder out, and I probably got, I could have probably done a little bit better on the first goal in the World Cup, where my body positions were probably too square on to the ball. But it's all about opening your body shape out. I mean, if you can kind of see here and see the people that's coming, there's no way you should score because he'd be too far out. But as you say, as a centre-half, it is a little bit different. You have to adjust your brain a little bit.
In terms of that goal you're talking about, just a sec, Carrot, did you look back at that with the manager or the video analysts and then talk about that body positioning thing?
Yeah, it can be a number of things. It can be as a full-back. I think with the goal against Croatia, people do things completely different to me. Now, I think he's come above me and, all right, is it a high foot, is it not? I've gone down to head of the ball, but, for me, I would have just blocked the man and there's no way he's getting that ball. But, people do things different and you just have to adapt to that.
It's actually, I thought, when the ball's on your side as a fullback, I always used to think that was the easy bit in the sense of everything's there. It's actually when the ball's on the opposite side. And Don Howard, the old Arsenal coach, he used to say to me, if for more than 1 second you don't twist your head, one, then the speed of the players, they're in there, aren't they?
Yeah.
It is difficult, that split second, because you're looking at somebody crossing the ball to see, has he crossed it? And you just look that split second, and all of a sudden someone does. And that is the difficulty of full-back, it's the difficulty of playing centre-back as well. It is the biggest challenge. And you talked about the learning that you've had in the last couple of years. What would you say is the one thing in terms of your progression you'd like to do in the next couple of years moving forward? Obviously, collectively you want to win trophies, but you personally, what's your target in terms of what you want to get to?
I felt I had a good season last season. I think I can come up with a few more assists. For me, it's not about scoring goals. I get, enjoyment out of, assisting people. I'd like to add goals to my tally, but I felt that we set the bar so high for ourselves individually and also collectively that we just need to repeat that. Obviously, not many teams have retained the Premier League title, in a number of years now, and that has to be, probably the number one objective. And the Champions League's a cup competition. You need to ride your luck a little bit to get to the final, and hopefully we can do that.
When we've spoken to your manager before, we spoke to him after the season, we're speaking to him again very shortly. The one question he's asked about that is the hunger. Have the players got the hunger to do it again? Because he says he has. Do you sense that within the group?
I think we've proved that already. Coming back to so early for the Community Shield. I'm not resting on this. It's a short career. It's a short career, and I want to win as much as I can win. And I'm happiest when I'm playing football. I'm not saying that my family for 1 minute don't give me happiness, but they know that when I'm on the football field, I'm the happiest, and I'm probably out my missus's.
She won't be watching, don't worry.
But when you're on your 2-week holiday, and you're seeing on Sky Sports News, obviously, that Liverpool perhaps are signing 2, 3, 4 players, key players, what sort of reaction do you have to that?
I think it's a compliment to us because they're trying to keep pace. Obviously, we've added a couple of young players, and then Riyad, which I think is a great addition to the team to not obviously just come in and start, but he's going to keep people on the toes. Raheem and Leroy, he can play in both positions. So for me, I think that people can't sit back and rest now. And for Leroy, he had a fantastic season, but I've been there before where I won the Young Player of the Year, and the next season's always the difficult one to maintain the standard, what people expect from you. And Riyad's going to push Leroy and also Raz just as much as they're going to push him.